I'll tell you a story which is on the same uh, topic as what we just talked about, family purity. There was a man, this is in the time of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The time of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he was in Russia. The first 10 years of his leadership, he was in Russia from 1880. He was is that right? That is not right. That is not right. I'm sorry. Totally wrong. From 1920. How did I get 1880? I don't know. From 9, I know, because it's just the Rebbe before him, it was Tafresh Pei, and Pei is 80. So I confused the non-Jewish date with the Hebrew date. Anyway, in 1920, the Rebbe started to be Rebbe. In 1920, that's when the communists really started their, to consolidate their power and organize their power, and especially their anti-Semitism and anti-Semitism. Stalin started killing people right and left shortly thereafter. Okay, but Lenin wasn't much better. I always forget this. When did Lenin die? I think in 23. Lenin died. Was that when he died? Let me just look this up. One second. Let me just look this up. When did he die? Anyway, whenever it was. So it was a very, 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 very difficult situation over there. It was forbidden to make minions. 3 or more people could not get together to make any meetings. If you did, you had to have a special permission. 3 people. More than 3 people, unless you were family members. They were arresting people right and left and throwing people in jail and shooting people in the streets. It was awful. Communism. They say that Stalin killed 50 million of his own people. Some people say it wasn't so bad. He only killed 30 million people, not 50 million. Look it up. Anyway, so there was one Jew that he made a minion in his house. A minion. Now, a minion was very dangerous. He made it in his basement, whatever. He had to close all the windows. And it was like the angel of death was like floating over the house. And his wife was going crazy. Any day they're going to catch us. A minion. A minion means 10 Jews praying. And prayers, like the morning prayers, take, let's say, bare minimum, it takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Usually it takes a little more than. You had to have 10 Jews together. 10 Jews together, that itself was dangerous. And praying and things like that, doing religious things. And that was totally, communism shut down all the synagogues and the Jewish schools especially. So this man's wife drove him crazy. You have to get it out of our house. It's already been in our house already for a month, for 2 months, whatever. And we can't do it. Have him move it somewhere else. So he went to the Rebbe. Went to the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he said to him, Rebbe, I have the minion in my house and I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do. I said, I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do. We have to move it out of my house. My wife is going wild. She thinks any minute we're going to get caught, and people are getting caught all the time and they're getting thrown. So the Rebbe said, in the city where you live, in the whole area, there's no mikveh. There's no mikveh. Women, therefore, women aren't having relations with their husband. They're not giving birth to children. They don't want to if there's no mikveh. You have to build a mikveh. Now, building a mikveh means that, first of all, you have to dig a hole. And you have to get rid of the dirt. And you have to dig a hole somewhere in a basement, maybe in your basement. And then you have to bring cement. It has to be watertight, the mikveh. And then you have to change the water. Women are not going to go into a mikveh that's dirty. So there's ways to do it. Anyway, it's not easy. Very difficult. And then you have to convince the women to come. And then someone has to bring the women to the mikveh. And then there has to be a woman that observes the whole thing, that supervises, that there's all these different stipulations that have to be, the body has to be clean, and there's no interposition. Anyway, it's a very difficult thing and very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. So he said, there's no mikveh in your area. You have to make a mikveh where you are. He went to the Rebbe that the Rebbe should take away from him, relieve him from some of his obligations. And the Rebbe just added on one which is twice as bad, twice as dangerous. The Rebbe said, you have no So he said, Rebbe, can't do it. So the Rebbe said to him like this. He said, you should know that on Yom Kippur, it says that they used to take a goat and they would throw it off of a mountain. It says maybe, and they would bring these goats. They would bring two goats. One goat would be taken to the temple, and one goat would be thrown off a mountain. It says they would bring it ish iti, a man which was chosen. The word iti also means a man of the time. It says, according to one opinion, that man who threw the goat off the mountain would not live till next Passover, till next Yom Kippur. He would pass away in that year. And nevertheless, there was a big, competition. Who would be that person to do that? Because the person who threw the goat over would bring a certain purification for all the Jewish people. Any spiritual problems the Jewish people did, God said, you make this offering, and it takes away a lot of the problems. It explains in the Gemara which exactly problems it is, but it brings forgiveness to a certain degree for the Jewish people. It says, therefore, purifying the Jewish people is so important that the person was willing to risk his life and even give his life in order to do that. End of speech. In other words, you have to realize what you're doing and how precious it is to help the Jewish people. And so he did. What happened in the end, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I do know there were a lot of Chabad Hasidim among those that were sent to Siberia and that were killed. And the Kfar Chabad used to be filled with those who were sent to Siberia. They had a lot of them. But the idea is self-sacrifice for the truth is the highest of values. And that's what the Rebbe is trying to imbue inside of us. Self-sacrifice for the truth. We don't have to give our lives, but at least we could give a little bit of our desires, our attention. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, see you all tomorrow, God willing, 8 o'clock in the morning.